AEW Full Gear for 2025. We're going to recap it real quick on the Wrestling is Real podcast. Welcome to the program. No proper open, nothing like that. The thing was, this show bothered me a lot. They love to keep going with these 4-hour shows. So almost 4.5 hours. It's a glutton of wrestling matches. Way too much. I know Tony Khan wants to give real value for the pay-per-views he delivers, but man, this is like too much. I think these are where you have certain matches that you could absolutely put on Dynamite and not have to put them on this show. It's too much. 4.5 hour show, 13 matches throughout the night, and to make sure you have time for all of this is the other thing you got to look as well. And when I look at everything they did, it's like, yeah, man, you have title matches all over the place with some of the storylines being involved inside of those title matches. And you have what are certain feuds that Tony Khan wants to get across. Right off the bat, if we go ahead and skip past the tailgate brawl portion of the program and go right into the Sky team beating the Don Callis family for the CMLL World Trios Championships, the focus was Okada and Takeshita, which they try to work with each other on trying to win tag team titles. Did not happen. Now trying to win the Trios Championships did not happen. So now Don Callis sees us here. And now there's going to be a third confrontation where who knows how the records are going to go for the Continental Classic, but the storyline is that Takeshita and Okada will probably face each other, or something will happen down the line where they're going to be a part of this. And Kyle Fletcher's also going to be part of this as well, because he needs to find something else to go and do because he lost the TNT title tonight. Now, they made a lot of title changes. They had a lot of blood in this show. Now, was some of it hard way, some of it necessary? I don't know. But it was a lot. And a lot of extreme matches. And we didn't have to have so many. But this is what we have because the match is required because of the feuds they have. It all just kind of came about like it did. So, to start off the night, they bled over the World Trios Championship match so that you could catch the friction between Takeshita and Okada. That's what they wanted to go and do. They did it. Pac and Darby Allin was really good as a lead-off match and just as a straight match where I'm glad to see Darby Allin doesn't have to go and do extreme matches all the time, but he did do some stuff that was extreme here anyway, regardless. Always has to be the death-defying kind of deal, but, that's what they want to do. But Pac winning in this match, Death Riders continue to be dominant. They're going to keep going on with that. And there's the talk that maybe Pac is going to become the leader of the Death Riders and Moxley's losing his spot, which would keep the Death Riders going on in a different form going into the new year. Thomas Love Bombs winning the 4-way tag team match. By the way, this is not the crowning of the Women's World Tag Team Championship. This is just a 4-way tag to determine a stipulation for the semifinal match coming up in the tournament. Because they're going to go to tournaments now going into the holidays with the Continental Classic and the continuation of the World Tag Team Title Tournament for the women. Then FTR, new tag team champions over Brodito. Anyways, FTR's been here. And the thing is, what do you do next with them to get something to go on with them? Ricochet winning the inaugural national championship. Another title. Too many titles in this brand. Way too many titles. Now we're at the point where it's just too many to go and remember. And to try to remember if they change the names. Because remember, North American, the All-Atlantic became the, international to become it's just too much now. Now we're getting a little overkill on the titles. Very much overkill on the titles. We don't need so many. TBS, TNT. You want to go women's championship? You want to go with the, 4 belts, seriously. And a trio style, fine. But let's not go more than this. But we are now at a point where, like, there are certain props being used for certain stars. And because Takeshita, I forget which belt he's holding, Okada also holding a belt. And he's put what? The Continental and the International Championships. And again, try to help me keep it with that. It's a bit much now. I don't care. I'm not that super fan that's going to just keep it with all these kind of things. Can't keep it with these belts. It's too much. Way too much. So Ricochet, they want to put a belt on him. Now they give him this title, which just looks like something out of out of NWA, National Heavyweight Champion. Even NWA had too many belts. Let's make that clear. Remember they even had the United States Tag Team Championships? I don't understand that either. Why we had to go that far. But there is too much of that. And there's a prestige that should be there just in traditional wrestling of having certain belts that, not everyone can just get a participation trophy. Let's get past that kind of mindset. Let's just get to the point where we don't need to have titles for everybody. Way too many titles. The no-holds-barred match, Kyle O'Reilly, Jon Moxley, and Moxley taking a fork. And let's go farther than Abdullah the Butcher. What else can we do? Let's go into Kyle O'Reilly's nipple. I'm just saying. Kyle O'Reilly's nipple. Let's go a little bit farther with it. And again, another bloody mess. Do we need this? This is the part where I know there's a little bit of creative leisure for Jon Moxley with some of his matches. He gets to go bloody. He gets to use a fork. And it's like, I get it. It is kind of shock and awe, but it's like, after I already saw, some blood earlier on in the night, I guess we just keep going with this. And I'm like, oh, man, this is just too much. But either which way, Kyle O'Reilly gets the win. And this is to go ahead and weaken Jon Moxley's status in Death Riders. That's the whole deal behind that. Pretty simple to go ahead and look at and see how that's coming. Kyle Fletcher also bloodied into a pulp. And Mark Briscoe, because they went in an ODQ match. And Briscoe, if he would have lost, would have joined the Don Callis family. But no, not to be. And Mark Briscoe, they really put up a story about the fact that it's been 3 years since his brother's passing, since Jay's been gone. And for AEW, for Tony Khan, he really is behind Mark Briscoe. Gave him the Ring of Honor World title and held on to that for a while. I forget it was last year going into this year. I forget now. And then here he goes, TNT Championship. But I figured that's not going to be a long run for him. Who's the next person that's going to that TNT title next? Because for Kyle Fletcher, I imagine after 114 days, they had him drop the belt so that he can go after the world title eventually. Because I think that's what he has to go and go this route. You gave him that TNT title. He doesn't have to go and go with a long reign with it. I can understand that. Now you're going to have to work harder. He's now motivated. And now you make it where he goes world title bound. That's what you got to put him in for 2026. I see that happening. And I hope that's what they are deciding to go with. And Bryan Danielson changing it up, saying he's the now professional wrestling. And I totally agree. And I've been saying that for weeks now and for months on this program, ever since he won that TNT title. The $1 Million Trios match. So the ongoing story of the Young Bucks trying to get themselves paid again, get back to where they were in status. And I guess this $1 Million match finally gets to that point. The Don Callis family gets abandoned and they get pushed aside by the Young Bucks. And now it looks like the Don Callis family is going to have a whole deal with Kenny Omega and apparently the Elite getting back together, which is the new thing for the new year. Okay, fine. You get Mercedes Moné losing the women's world title. It's 13 belts Moné. She loses to Chris Statlander. Now, she still has that TBS title. But in this point, they did let it where Mercedes Moné trying to go after another belt. And Chris Statlander says, nope, here I come for the block. That's it. So her status remains, but it is something significant to go and see that Chris Statlander was able to go ahead and defend her belt and not lose it like 13 other opponents to Mercedes Moné. So Chris Statlander really gets a boost out of that, believe it or not. Then you get Samoa Joe and Hangman Adam Page. Steel cage match, another blood fest. Bloodlust tonight. If you wanted blood in your matches, you got a bunch of it, man. Oh, boatload. A bucket load, really. Should actually put that in the title. Yeah, bucket load of finishes like that. It's just ridiculous, okay? So Samoa Joe wins again. But now setting things up, so Swerve Strickland comes in, because the first thing was, I didn't want to see where Samoa Joe is winning and the ops come in. Hook is helping with the ops once again. He was there all along. We don't know. But Samoa Joe now has a big faction with him. And now Swerve Strickland comes back and clears house. And now what happens next? So there you go. Very interesting also as well with the Casino Gauntlet match for the National Championship. The entrance they had in here. I mean, look, it's a secondary belt. I don't even know where you put it in the hierarchy of the international title, the continental title, or the TNT title. I don't know. But it's way too confusing. But you had Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Ricochet, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, Orange Cassidy, Wheeler Yuta, Kevin Knight, Roderick Strong, Mark Davis, Speedball McBailey, and Daddy Magic Matt Menard. So just the main roster. No extra special people in there. And nobody that was in this group that I thought, oh, you need to go and put a belt on them. No, not really. So listen, a lot of quantity. There were some good quality matches in the show tonight, but it's still a bit of a mess. There's just not a lot of rhyme or reason with what Tony Khan's doing. There are some storylines I'm interested in. Now that Kyle Fletcher lost, now that Mercedes Moné lost, I'm interested in what they do next with those two. Swerve Strickland, Adam Page, I guess they might be aligned once again. They'll have to deal with the ops. That's the next thing going on for them. The Elite versus Don Callis family. We got that going on. The continuation of Darby Allin and Pac and Jon Moxley and the whole deal with the Death Riders. You got that going to work for you. So you got a lot of storylines you can work off of that with a lot of different pieces of the puzzle to go and play with that you can put matches around and any kind of variations you want. That's the plan. But they really did go overkill on title changes for whatever reason. You crown a new champion, inaugural new champion. And except for Chris Statlander, did we get that right? We had title changes on all the title matches. I don't know if that made Full Gear any better. But, you know, I'm confused on all this. Like, it just didn't feel like there was a lot of cohesion with all this here. There's a lot going on at the same time. I don't want to say less is more, because then we would be doing what WWE is going to be doing for Survivor Series, which is very less. There's got to be a middle ground here where he's doing all this. Well, they're putting so much, and I mean, I guess it's also the TV time that Tony Khan has to deal with as well, with 3 to 4 hours a week of programming there. And the roster that he has. I don't know. But they had a whole lot of matches tonight. It was crazy. I just don't know how I feel about it, if it was really that good or not. I just think it was way too much. The blood was overkill. And the title change is just kind of mind-boggling. Is really what it comes down to. That's all I got to say about that. And we're going to leave it right there. Thank you for listening to the Wrestling Observer podcast. And actually, before I go and get out of here and run away, I just want to get another couple of things that I saw in here that were interesting of note in the other parts of the world of wrestling that I thought would be good to go and bring up, because there were a few things that came out that caught my attention. CW Network being frustrated about the Nielsen Big Data Plus panel measurement for TV ratings. So when the ratings for NXT dropped to under 600,000 and they lost roughly 100,000 viewers, now there's a whole discrepancy, and now CW is going, wah, wah, our ratings went down, wah, and now they're all upset. Going after Nielsen, saying, oh, we're deeply frustrated with the way they handled the process, communication, and methodology. And that the data that they're getting from all their measurement products exposes a fundamentally flawed methodology. We're disappointed by their lack of cooperation and all this here. So, yeah, big pouting about that. Somebody getting upset when someone says that the supposed AEW sickos are going to say the WWE is effed once Cena leaves, and then someone writes, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Stephanie Vakir, Jade Cargill, Dragunov, Maxine Dupree, Chelsea Green, Ricky Saints, and just moves on and on. So he just basically mentions the whole roster. And of the names that are put in here, all of it really, he put it in order for a part of it. But like the very top of the card, okay, you're talking about, well, is his top list Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Stephanie Vakir, Jade Cargill, Ilya Dragunov at that start. And then he starts naming everything from alphabetical order for whatever reason. Yeah, the sicko stuff goes both ways, okay? It just a little too much of all this here. Ugh. Okay, now we'll go ahead and drop off. Come back this week for another Wrestling Culture podcast. I don't know, man. These pay-per-views are getting tough to go and recap because wrestling needs us.